Okay, good morning. Welcome to
KidMath number 54.
KidMath number 54. So today you're going to give a lecture about deriving the quadratic formula, and just to make things go a little faster, I'm going to write. Okay?
Alright.
So we're trying to solve the equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's the challenge for today,
Yes.
because this is a general form of a quadratic, and the only condition on this, do you remember what the only condition is?
Is that a cannot be 0.
A is not equal to 0.
Otherwise we end up dividing by 0, and that's very unpleasant.
Yeah, well, also if a equals 0, we just have a nice linear equation, and solving that's very simple. Okay, so a is not equal to 0. Okay, off you go.
Okay, so first we divide by a to get this x coefficient equal to 1, because that's what we know how to solve.
Okay, so divide by a. X squared plus b over a x plus c over a equals 0. Okay?
Now we take this middle term, divide by 2 and square it.
Why are we doing that?
It's part of our completing the square formula.
Ah, okay. Alright, so what do I get next?
So you get x squared plus bx over a plus b squared over 4a squared plus c over a. Actually, I have to do a minus b squared over 4a squared plus c over a equals 0.
Okay, and why is this okay to do?
Because you're adding a number and then subtracting, which is the same as adding 0.
Ah, so really I just added a very clever form of 0. Okay, what's next?
Okay, so x squared plus bx over a plus b squared over 4a squared is actually a perfect square.
How did we know that?
Well, because you have this square term and you have squares here. So it's x, it would be x plus b over 2a squared.
Squared, and that's what completing the square teaches us. That's what our completing the square technique tells us. And what am I left with?
You're left with minus b squared over 4a squared plus c over a.
Okay, what's
Now,
the next step?
We bring these two to the other side.
Okay, and then since we're running tight on room, I'm going to do that by just putting the equals over here.
Alright. The plus turns into
That turns into a plus, and this turns into a minus. Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
So next we get the common denominator,
Okay,
which is 4a squared. So we multiply by 4a over 4a on c over a.
so I get x plus b over 2a squared equals what? What does this side turn into when you get a common denominator?
It's b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared.
Okay,
Then we take the square root of both sides, so we get x plus b over 2a equals the square root of b squared, is plus or minus the square root, because you have two roots, minus 4ac over 2a, because the bottom is a perfect square.
okay.
Now we just have to bring this b over 2a to the other side.
Okay. So again, since we're running a little tight on room, I'll just do that with the magic of the eraser and say x equals negative b over 2a.
Yeah, it's negative b plus or minus this.
Okay, and this is our general formula. So the techniques that we used were what?
We're just completing the square
Completing the square,
and our handy dandy adding 0.
handy dandy adding 0, and then we just had to get a 1 on the x squared for the completing the square formula that we knew, right?
Yes.
So there's our general formula. Good job, sweetie. Good job. That was a really nice lecture.